Counter-cultural life episode trace from Study Studio, kicking it off. Counter-cultural life, where we talk about doing life opposite of what culture says. Culture tells you a lot of things. We talk about doing it differently, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I have my best friend, the love of my life, is here today to ask me questions. And let me just say from the jump, I hate not being prepared. I love when I'm prepared with the questions. So you're going to get raw and real. We talked about being raw and real. You're definitely going to get that on this episode because there's no time for me to think about what questions are coming. I like to be prepared. There's people out there like me that like to be prepared with the questions, but this is good because I'm not prepared. So you're going to get straight truth, no chaser. Straight truth, no chaser, like some healthy kombucha that I'm drinking today. I'm shooting an ad right now. Kombucha, drink it. Your gut will feel better. Okay. Anyway, here we go. I am ready. First of all, I'm sorry. Her name is Sabrena Carson. She is my wife, my best friend, my soulmate, the mother of our 4 beautiful children who are all now in their 20s. We are younger. We do look younger, maybe, hopefully, than we actually are. We are years old, so we've done it a little bit.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. See?
Smart man.
I wouldn't give away that you're 28 on the podcast.
That's great.
All right, so you have questions. I have answers. Hopefully, we will get this going. So what questions do you have for moi?
What is your favorite animal?
What is my favorite animal? My favorite animal is gosh, it's so hard. I have lots of things in my head right now. If I had from the cuff, my favorite animal is a liger, like Napoleon Dynamite. Anyway, not a liger and not a lion tiger. My favorite animal is probably a lion. I like the strength of the lion. I like how the lion is the king of the jungle. I like how the lioness protects her cubs and protects her lion just as well as the lion protects the pack. So I like lions. Probably my favorite. Lion of Judah. Everything in my life has a scriptural reference anyway. So why not go with the Lion of Judah? That's my answer. I'm sticking to it. Lions.
Lines up. It lines up.
Lions. Oh man, I'm concerned. That was a harder question than I thought it was going to be. Should be an easy question. Easy questions are hard for me. Hard questions are easy for me. That's how my brain works.
I feel that. So, what is your favorite sport and why?
My favorite, man, it's not a tie. I love football and basketball, but my favorite sport. Oh, this is hard too. I love football, but I'm going to actually surprise you probably with what I think is my favorite sport, even though I don't watch it. No, I can't say that. I like the sport. I like UFC. I like MMA because you are alone. You are by yourself. It is you and nobody else.
That is your favorite
sport?
sport?
You have to get your mind prepared. No, I think I like the psychology of the sport. You and you alone. Anyway, but I'm a team guy, so I would have to say football. I love football. I love all the aspects of football. It's funny that as we have grown in our marriage and relationship, you had no idea about football when we met. And I can't remember when I didn't know what a quarterback was. And I remember how many times you got confused when I said, oh, he plays cornerback. And you was like, I thought he threw the ball. And I'm like, no, cornerback is on defense. And I don't remember when I didn't know the positions. Football all the way, even though I love basketball. Anyway.
Then what was the trail off to MMA?
MMA is just, I think it's the epitome of everything in athletics. You have to be mentally strong, physically strong. You have to be psychologically strong to stand toe-to-toe, mano a mano, and face off with another human being. I think that is the biggest test of athletic ability and psychological strength. So I like it.
Interesting.
Interesante.
It is. You ready for the next one?
I am ready for the next one.
How did you get here?
On planet Earth, my mother and my father at one time procreated. And here I came out 9 months later.
Okay.
How did I get here? Oh, shoot. How did I get to Knoxville? It's a big question. You determine. Give me the question. What do you want to know? How did I get here? Like here now as a 40-year-old male.
However you want to answer. How did you get here?
How did I get here? By the grace of God and the love of a strong wife. Period. Dot. I was one of those kids that was going to be well on my way to the two choice kids, which is either jail or military. My grandmother and grandfather that loved me very, very much after I had been kicked out of my mom and dad's house by my father for the, third or fourth time. After I graduated high school, I moved in with my grandparents, and my grandparents tricked me into going to the Air Force recruiter because I made the mistake one time when I was with them of saying that I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So they took that as an opportunity, an opening to get me to go to the Air Force. And then I went to the Air Force.
You don't like to fly.
I hate to fly.
But you wanted to be a fighter pilot.
I wanted to be a fighter.
You would have been in control.
Exactly.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Exactly. There you go.
Never mind.
There you go. I don't like to fly. Yes, it's a control thing. And she just, yeah.
I just fixed my.
You just figured it out. Because as a fighter pilot, guess who's in control? I'm in control. And if the plane is messed up, I can just hit the ejection seat and I'm out. But that is how I got to here. The part that I was at was I was tricked by my grandparents. When you go into the military, basic training was at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, and they give you this thing called a dream sheet. And they give you a dream sheet because it's a dream. You're never going to get any base that you choose on that sheet. I think it's the funny part of them sending you that sheet and calling it a dream sheet, because you're supposed to pick what base you want to go to after technical training school. So you go to Lackland, you do your dream sheet, you go to tech school, which is where you learn your job, and then you go to your first base, which is the dream sheet. And I put every base within 500 miles of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was close enough to where I had come from and where all my friends were. And they sent me to the great state of Tokyo, Japan. So not even in the United States. I end up in Tokyo, Japan. After I tried to trade my orders with 2 or 3 people, because you could trade your orders. You could trade in the same career field, and no one wanted to trade and go to Japan. And I went to Japan and met you. How long was that? Probably, I got there in December of 95, and we met in November of 96. So after almost a whole year, I met you, and you were everything to me that helped me to not only get my life back together, but also become the person that God created me to be. So it was God and you. It was God and you that got me to here right now. That's how I got here right now. There's a lot of stuff in between, but that started the path. Okay, there you go. How did I get here now tonight? I drove in after the gym, sat down.
Okay.
You're welcome.
What
is this next question? No thought.
The Lord knows better than you do, and your dream sheet was just a little joke.
Oh! Now you want to get comfortable and start
I'm
talking.
just saying.
Sweet. Dream sheet was a joke. Yes, anybody out there in the military that
Why do you
fills
think
out
it's called a
sheet.
dream sheet?
I'm not, as a young guy, you're like, yes, my dream is to get to this base, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to put these base.
Also, your dream base was Oklahoma.
No,
of all the places you could go, Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to go back to where
your grandmother was trying to get you out of.
Yeah,
but
she was trying.
Anyway, your next question.
Your next question.
How did you get interested in leadership and spiritual development?
Oof, that's a huge question. How much time is this?
Yeah, when I read that, I wondered the same thing.
Leadership. Oh, sure, I got plenty of time. Leadership and spiritual development. Leadership. Let's start with leadership. Leadership. I walked down the hallway of my grandfather's house whenever I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. And he had all of these plaques and certificates of all the stuff that he led, all of the different, I can't even remember what they were. They were, stuff in the city that he led. I want to say Shriners, but that's probably wrong. He was in a lot of stuff, and he was the president of a lot of stuff. And I saw that as an 8 or 9 year old. Then I remember my 5th grade teacher, who is still my spiritual mentor after all these years. I still text him frequently. My 5th grade teacher, he told me he brought the best out of me. That was my 5th grade year when I think my lowest grade in anything was 98. I did all my sports. I was the top of sports and everything. And it was because he pushed me. And I didn't realize at that time that's what leaders did. So my grandfather and all his stuff told me he was pretty important. I saw how people interacted with him when we were around town. And I was like, he's pretty important. Like, people look up to him. And I think that's where the understanding of leadership came from. 6th grade, my mom said that there was kids that had asked my teacher if they could be in the same class as me. And I didn't understand what that meant. I'm like, why do they want to be in the same class as me? And it was because I don't know what that was. I guess it was because I was a halfway decent person. And for a long time, I thought my mom just made that up to make me feel good about myself, but she swears she didn't. So I think there was like innate leadership stuff in me. And then it became a bad space because I realized that the leader was in control and I wanted to control everything. So I would get involved in stuff, and I would get angry at the decisions that were made and get frustrated at the decisions that were made. So I started getting into positions where I could make the decisions. And then came, I think where it was all locked in was the military, just leading in the military, leading different groups of people, having influence over them. Matos, rest in peace, Christopher Matos, told me something one time that has still just stuck with me, and because he really looked up to me, and I didn't realize how much he looked up to me until I made a mistake in my life, and it wrecked him, and I didn't realize because he looked up to me so much, that's why it wrecked him. And other people making comments, and I had no understanding really of how much influence you could have in a position of leadership. And then came where the military, towards the middle part of my career, winning leadership awards, and towards the end part of my career, teaching at the Leadership Academy in the United States Air Force, and having people send me emails 6 months to a year, 2 years after they left the class, and was like, what you told me at this point really changed my career and really helped me shape the destiny of my future and all that stuff. And I started to really go, okay, I like that feeling. I like that feeling of making people better. And I like that feeling of pushing people into their God-designed purpose. I just didn't know how to put words on it until I'd been doing it. So being the leadership instructor there, and then the superintendent, and leading a team of leaders, which was the hardest job I ever did, until I got to the church, which leads me into the spiritual formation aspect. When it went into the church, with all those years and experience of leading people and leading different things and leading youth organizations and leading church events and leading church stuff and leading in the community. And I thought that I knew what I was doing until I got into the church setting and leadership, and kind of saw how much of a challenge it was to lead large large groups of people, and really learned that you can have a giant church, and there can be a 1,000 people in your church. Mega church is 2,000 and more. But really what makes a church grow and a church be impactful in the world is spiritual formation, spiritual development. And
what does that mean?
Spiritual development, good question. Spiritual development is growing in your faith. It is growing in who God has designed you to be, who God has called you to be. It's utilizing your skills, gifts, and abilities to their fullest purpose and intent. It is a lot of people have gifts that are like innate inside of them, and they don't know it until they get into an environment where they allow God to grow them. And having that ability to lead people to that space of spiritual growth and development. Coming to church for more than just a church. We're not just supposed to come to church on Sunday just to hang out, hear good music, and raise our hands and praise God. That's part of it, yes. But we're supposed to come to church, be in community, get around people, and be challenged to grow by the words by the words that we hear in the messages that are preached, and leave and then go do something with it. We're not supposed to just come back every Sunday and do it all over again. We're actually supposed to be making a difference in the world around us. And I think we struggle in Western church, especially because it seems like my experience is we don't put a big
going off topic a little
emphasis, huh? I'm on topic. Spiritual formation, spiritual development, we're talking about it.
Okay.
So I think one of the issues that we have is we don't put enough focus on that, growing in our faith. And what does that even mean? Right. And that's a whole new podcast in itself right there, is how do you grow in your faith? But those are the things. So leadership and spiritual development are huge.
Are you going to eventually talk about that in a podcast?
Am I going to talk about leadership? Yep. Am I going to talk about spiritual development? Yep. Because it seems, coming back to the podcast name, Countercultural Life, spiritual development is doing stuff counterculturally. Spiritual development, look, spiritual development is discipleship. That's a churchified word, discipleship. No one can really define it. They're like, well, Jesus had disciples. Yeah. And they followed him around. Yeah. But there was so much more to that. A disciple is someone who really learns the methods and ways of the person that they're following. And everybody in 2024 is being discipled by somebody. It may be an Instagram influencer. Mm-hmm. It may be a show that you're watching on Netflix. You are following somebody. That's why Instagram has followers. Followers are disciples. You are a disciple of somebody. And the only disciple you should be is a disciple of Jesus Christ, because he was the greatest actualization of a human being to ever walk the planet. But I'm going to get to that. I don't know. There's another question. Those are my two favorite subjects. Theology, spiritual formation, leadership, theology. Two favorite subjects. Next question.
I don't know if you already touched on this, because you did talk about two big people in your life. Who is your biggest inspiration?
Who is my biggest inspiration? Jesus all day long. I want to operate, move, talk, walk like him. Inspiration, that would be my biggest one. I know that's kind of far-fetched for a lot of people. And of course, that's the super churchy answer, but I'm not trying to be super churchy. I'm just being real. Inspiration in my life, there's lots of people, and I take bits and pieces from all of them. My father just passed away. He inspired me to never quit. He inspired me to be resilient. He inspired me to never let your past define who you are. That's my grandfather that I talked about earlier. That both my grandfathers. One grandfather inspired me to show me what hard work was about, and to be mindful of saving money and to work hard. And I said that my grandfather on my mom's side, he was the guy that I talked about him being a leader, and I aspired to be a lot like him, in all of his good parts. And my fifth grade teacher, his name is Raphael Anzavina. Of course, he's named after an angel, an archangel. Of course, that would make sense. Or a Ninja Turtle, however you want to look at it. But he is an amazing man of God who I have so much respect. He inspires me consistently through his life from the day that I met him to now. I think he's in his 60s and has battled through health stuff, but has never, ever wavered in his walk of faith. And I think he would be probably my biggest inspiration. Just a man of God through and through. Somebody who walked with God like Noah, Enoch, Abraham. I mean, he's one of those dudes. And he would be resistant to me saying that. Mm-hmm. But that's just who he is. He's just that guy. Anyway. Okay.
Get into it.
And you are my biggest inspiration.
It's too late for that.
You are my inspiration. No. I mean, you're always there. Like, you're ride or die. Bonnie and Clyde. You are. You make me who I am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not too late.
It's too late.
Men, understand this. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Actually, it is.
No. Go Luther Vandross. Never too much. Never too much.
Okay.
I'm not even looking this way. Hey,
I'm so scared to ask this question.
Oh, what is it? What is this question?
What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Man, I could either get a whole bunch of followers from this, or I could lose a whole bunch of followers. Let me be. Oof.
Choose very carefully, please.
Okay.
And wisely.
Can I give background? Can I give background?
What does that mean?
A little bit of background. I used to be a pretty big conspiracy theorist. And what you have to know about conspiracies is conspiracy theories are actually created from truth. So there's always truth in the conspiracy theory somewhere. They're not all fake and made up. So there's elements of truth in every conspiracy theory. I was 9/11 as an inside job conspiracy theorist for a long time. I don't know where I am on that now. I love my country. I'm willing to fight and die for my country. I think there's sometimes it seems like one of the conspiracy theories is somebody's behind the curtain pulling strings. Maybe, I don't know. But if I had to go with my biggest conspiracy theory, okay, Noah's waiting. I think. Ooh, I'm going with it. I'm not afraid. I think that there are some elements in Scripture that have been purposely dumbed down by leaders of the church and have been purposely not removed from Scripture, but not taught at the level that they should be taught. And I think it is a conspiracy of some church leaders not understanding that they are working for the wrong team in doing that. I think they would judge their desire to keep things under wraps as faithful, but I think there is a conspiracy that is in the church at large. And I don't know who's behind it besides the enemy. However, I think that there are some things in Scripture that we are afraid to teach, and I think that is a conspiracy that's bled into the church through centuries. So I think there's stuff that we don't want to touch. And I think if we would start to learn about it, it would put our understanding of the Christian faith in a whole new level of power. Let's just put it there. Let's leave it there. That's my I don't know, Noah. You're the man behind the curtain. Lose followers, gain. I don't know. I told you, countercultural. We're going to be real. That's one of the elements that I believe in, and we'll get into that later on in podcast. We're going to talk about what I'm actually talking about. But conspiracy theories. Now, it's my turn.
No.
Absolutely.
No,
You're nice and comfortable. No, it's not my turn. It's not my turn. So I don't know how much time. We got a little bit more time. No time. No time. Look at that. Y'all are lucky. We can keep going. But this is what this is going to be about, countercultural life. Learning how to walk out this journey in our God-designed purpose while we're here. And countercultural life means going against culture, going against what people are saying, going against what the Instagram influencers are saying, going against what society says, to fully walk out your God-designed purpose. Not walking in fear, but walking in faith. And what does that mean? It's more than just a t-shirt. T-shirts during COVID. All faith, no fear. Yeah. What does that mean? Let's explain it. Let's just not put it on a t-shirt. So what does it truly mean to walk in faith and no fear? What does it truly mean to walk out your God-designed purpose? What does it truly mean to pick a side? Because in the morality space, you have to pick a side. You have to. There's no in the middle. There's no in between. So we're going to get into that. Noah's going to keep us on task and keep us focused. Noah will be back on the podcast. He will always have to be prepared because he may be back on the podcast because I had such a good time last time, and his his conspiracy theory was Lindsay Lohan, which I kind of told you a little bit about. That's a crazy one. I had never heard that one before. The Lindsay Lohan Disney conspiracy theory is very good.
I do need to Google that.
Very good. You gotta get on Dr. Google and check it out. Anyway, that is Counterculture Podcast coming from Study Studio. The Kickback. That's why we kick back just like that. The Kickback Study Studio. Holler at us. We'll come back. It will be a good time together. Hopefully, I can get this beautiful lady on a new podcast with me, and we can talk about love and marriage. You know, old Al Bundy. All right, episode 4 coming up. Love y'all. Peace out.